Good morning, everyone. This is Julie McDonald with Microcom Technologies, and I'd like to thank all of you for attending today's webinar with. Today's host is Ben Rarick, and he'll be presenting today, and he is Solutions Engineer. If anyone has any questions, please submit them in the question box, and Ben will answer them at the end of today's presentation. Ben, thank you so much for being with Microcom this morning. We greatly appreciate it. I'm finished for now. Please go ahead and take it on over.
Hi there, everyone. Just as she said, my name's Ben. Being a solutions engineer, my job at Algo is to make sure that when people have questions about how our product fits in within a certain vertical or how can we solve a certain situation, we give them answers and we help build out ecosystems that make sense for our product. Which is why today we are going to key in on one of those ecosystems, which will be education, schools, campuses, etc., and making sure that you understand a little bit more about Algo and where things fit in. And so really, we create a lot of connectivity in schools, and our products individually are just little Linux computers that are fit to a form factor to fit a need in that ecosystem. I do want to talk after about what's coming, what's new, how we're going to build new things based on this ecosystem to help make more solutions for you guys to work with. But then also, let's see how we can partner with Algo and make more things happen together for your clients. Algo really is a manufacturer for IP endpoints. So these are individual SIP registrable endpoints, which you would build up from one device and scale to thousands as needed. We work very well with unified communications, emergency notification platforms, and these platforms we work very closely with to build up firmware, make sure we work well together with a lot of different places, a lot of different VoIP systems to provide better solutions for clients. This also connects very well in schools where we want to give you the best audio experience possible within the classroom and other places. And we do that by two routes. One, we have legacy equipment that's going to be adapted, so brought into the IP fold, maybe with a new VoIP system if the client is building up there, or putting in new IP speakers to broadcast events. So there's a few ways we're going to do IP, and I'll put more detail into that. Let's first go to IP, which IP legacy, which is going to be, I have a VoIP system. We have an old amplifier that's analog. We don't want to use the ATA or a bunch of devices in between. So we put in something like an 8301, and it bridges the gap between IP and analog systems. You can build in more IP systems on top of this and go for a hybrid solution, but really this is what it is let's use an old amplifier with a bunch of speakers, but now start introducing the 8301, which we'll discuss in more detail later. When we look at IP builds, we have a lot of things for a classroom, especially for audio. So our endpoints promote a few different things. One is wideband audio. That's the G.722 codec, which is 90% of the intelligible speech spectrum. So making sure that this message is understood, that everyone's getting a clear picture of what's happening, it may be an emergency or general day-to-day PA, is no problem with our speakers. We talk about ambient noise response. So listening to, with a microphone in the speaker itself, how loud a classroom is or an environment, and being able to adjust that volume higher or lower based off a range that you set, so that it can be quiet during your test times, but during a presentation or maybe just busy kids in a room, it will adjust itself to a higher volume to make sure that message gets across. But then also communicating back. So classrooms can have the ability to talk back with reception or other areas in the school just by simply connecting a button to these speakers. And this is really important because a lot of places require two-way talk, or they've been used to two-way talk, and this is how you can preserve it in a full IP environment. But it's not just the classroom we look at, it's the hallway. How can we get this message effectively across, but also make sure that budgets and respect to switching and other hardware requirements as well. And we do that with the exact same audio, the exact same ambient noise response, But we also provide ceiling speakers like these 1198 and 8198 speakers that have satellite technology. So being able to have one primary drop run, but then have multiple speakers chained off of it to a total of 4. So providing a great audio experience, but still being able to give you a good budget friendly and still excellent option for your hallway audio. For outside a school, you'd look at horns, the ability to have something that's wet weather rated, something that's going to be very loud, very bright solutions, potentially looking at door and gate control. We have devices for all of that. And what you see here with these horn speakers and horn arrays is the ability to provide a clear message to a very large area, and that can withstand the weather as you need to. We have speakers for this, but we also have a lot of visual alerting, and this is where schools are going today. We're noticing a lot more people needing visual notification. It could just be a light, a strobe, but we also have the IP display speakers now as well. And this was very, very popular, and you can kind of imagine why, because it gives you so much in terms of all of those other features, the two-way talk, the ambient noise response, the good quality audio, but then you also have the screen for perhaps a slideshow or maybe even emergency situations such as lockdown or all clears or weather alerts even. You can have scrolling text on the bottom and have everything work together to make sure that whatever you need to give out as far as information goes to your classrooms and to your hallways are covered through this. It also has the speaker array. So this is going to cover the whole classroom, make an intelligible message, and it can be for emergency tones and signals or pre-recorded audio or just your regular paging while still having the ability for two-way talkback in those classrooms, but then flashers as well. It's all of it. This one device gives you so much in the way of multicolor visual alerting, strobes. So when you need to get a message across to classrooms and really build into how I can effectively communicate with my school, this is how you can do it. Even in hallways as well. So for a classroom, the single-sided speaker is there, but then we also have dual-sided. What's really cool about something like this is we have, oh, if you see that little message, my bad. We have 40 feet on either side of the speaker that you can get intelligible speech from. So you can cover a full 80-foot hallway and have a strobe alert and have this LCD screen for your hot dog days, for your lockdowns and emergency procedures, all in the one device. So, and that's one PoE++ drop. Now, this can be ceiling or it can be wall mount. It comes with the brackets. So just in case anyone was going to ask that later, I wanted to make sure we cover it. But we really want to make sure that if you need some kind of visual alerting, that if you want to get the message across, and maybe even schools where visual alerting is necessary, that you have options here. Now, strobes as well. Red, blue, green, amber, multi-pattern strobes are available. They operate through our multicast system. So whenever you have a fire alert, it could be red, or a medical alert can be green. There's no issues with however you want to set these devices up. Things that are really new for us is just allowing people to use SIP. Yes, that's always been there, but also having more options in terms of command and control, especially for the school ecosystem. The core requirements of any school when we're talking about it would be making sure that you can broadcast messages real time, that you have options for pre-recorded messages or notifications. So these are alerts that you want to get across very quickly, that you want people to know what's happening. So even if someone is going through and they can't hear well for whatever reason, you would be able to tell them, hey, follow this evacuation plan. Hey, this is what's going on, and provide better situational awareness. And you could do this from anywhere. You want to be able to maybe have a button for emergency alerts. You want to be able to maybe schedule these slideshows or alerts or announcements to come up at certain times. all of these requirements can be handled from an Algo device. And then one of the best ones to use right now that's coming out very soon is this Algo 8450 console. So this is a touchscreen with a 4x4 button panel that you can have things like your fire alert, your lockdown, your hot dog days, maybe at quick touch buttons to initiate these announcements or alerts, while still giving you the ability to just press a button and make a page. So think of those reception desks. Think of the people maybe in a vice principal or principal office that you want to have these command centers in. It's very intuitive and it's very easy to set up and use for anyone in the school space. We are also very cognizant of a lot of things changing in our schoolscape, and things are being adapted and built for that. So we see this with Alyssa's Law and the need for more panic buttons, emergency alerts, etc. It is just a part of our environment. So we want to be able to quickly connect and seamlessly and quickly connect classrooms and common areas and admins to external help if needed. So if there's an emergency situation, you want to have access to a button, you want to have access to something that's going to get you help as quickly as possible, but also talk about how, each school, each district, is it going to be a call to 911? Is there security on campus? How are we going to do that? Or can it do both? You need a reliable system to do things in this critical safety situation. And our devices can do that. And I'll show you how here as well, but also really our buttons are what we're going to discuss to do that. We have IP buttons being created just for this suite of products. So emergency alerting and notification through a button. But we have always had analog inputs to do that. So for example, if you have a call switch connected to one of our display speakers, you're able to connect to 911 with a pre-recorded message or have an active call with them to make sure that we're applying with Alyssa's Law, which, it's going to be very, very big in the public and secondary school areas where we need that kind of panic button to notify law enforcement or connect with that front desk in these situations. But we need other products too in that suite. Right now, all that we saw was that analog button. And so we have a lot of new things coming in. And here we see just kind of how we set these speakers up in a given ecosystem, just so you can see that we have a display in the classroom, speakers in the cafeteria. The admin office would have your IP display and control console and be able to trigger all of these devices from that one area while still letting classrooms have buttons for emergencies or perhaps two-way talkback, strobes to make sure that even if a vocal alert is missed, you have a visual alert to support it. And building a whole ecosystem out of our products is just a matter of saying this room needs this, let's apply this product, let's apply this device to fill that niche. Even door control and outside intercom as well. There's a few ways you can manage these devices and transmit out and broadcast to the greater network. We use the 8301. This brings in older amplifiers, but is also very good as a bell scheduler. It has this built into the device locally, so you don't have to do any sort of software, but we also have software, the ADMP and controller device. So the controller is LAN-based for controlling, for pushing configurations and adjusting volume. But then we also have ADMP, which is a cloud-based solution. So signing in, being able to push configs, or potentially looking at zero-touch provisioning in the future. All of these things provide a pretty comprehensive device management to make sure that the school is running the way you want it at any given time. The new stuff that's being built for these niches would actually be the console. So we showed it to you, but it's not out quite yet. It's going to be out very soon. We're going to be looking at it before end of the year release for sure, maybe even in the next month. So anyone who's interested, we can keep you posted on that. IP clocks, these are going to be IP PoE, so running off NTP time protocol, so you don't have to change the times. This is a network standard, so it's very reliable. and very visible clocks, single or double-sided. And then the panic buttons. This is brand new to us, and this is more directly confirming our commitment to helping with Alyssa's law. So here we'd have something that you could label, but also have an IP button for two different alerts, potentially a 911 alert or maybe a campus security alert. So you can have varying degrees of importance to these alerts. And right now there is accessories for analog, but then we're going to be building pure IP buttons as well. The 8305 is another new device, and this is more for people who have very old analog systems that might have used an on-hook phone. So if we can imagine the admin phone on the desk that you have to pick up to make a page directly, this is what that will replace. It has an FXFO port to connect to a legacy FXS port for your analog amplifiers. And it can also provide an analog output as well. However, that is not an FXS port. It does not provide power. So just maintain that as you use these devices. We have a lot of ways to connect. And so where there's a rough overview of all of our devices today, there's other ways you can connect to us through the Authorized Integrator program to see if you want to become a closer install partner with Algo and potentially get work from us as well. Our design services, which I participate in as well. If you have a builds and a bid and you want to know what does this look like from an Algo perspective, how do I engage you guys for this, you can just send an email to us and we can work on those designs with you, show you what a bill of materials is and how that would play into the Algo ecosystem. And of course, just meeting with the team. If you ever want us to meet with you over meetings or talk more to us, this is email and we'll happily book that up for you as well. The program for the authorized integrators, it is a good program to join with the potential for getting demo equipment and project pricing. Now, we don't do site visits per se as far as design services go, but if you have those floor plans, the room compositions, details for that, we can definitely help you build something out and get that bill of materials made. From here, you know, we just want to quickly go over everything. Hopefully, you know, if you're able to, you have questions as well, so I can put that back to Julie.
Thank you so much, Ben, for that wonderful presentation. And yes, I do have some questions for you here. Let's go ahead and get started with the first one. First question, can you tell us what is the audio quality and range of your IP speakers?
I mean, we use wideband G.722, so when I say 90% of the speech spectrum, I don't have the exact kilohertz, but that's, I guess, my answer. Oddly enough, I don't have the exact range for you, but if you look up wideband audio, it will show you the audio ranges and you'll be able to see what it will cover.
Perfect, no problem. Thank you so much for that. Next question here for you. Can you tell us how energy efficient the IP speakers are?
For sure. So they're going to run PoE, so you're going to be running PoE plus for others, PoE plus plus for our IP displays. They can go up to 60 watts for the displays, but a speaker just standby might be using no more than 2 to 4 watts standby, and then going up to, if it's full volume, that's 16, that 8 watt, depending on what it's allotted for PoE.
Thank you so much for that. Next question here for you. Can the IP speakers withstand harsh environmental conditions if they're outside?
Our IP66 speakers are wet weather rated, so I mean your rain and basic weather, yes, it can withstand most of it. There are situations where you need more though. We do have IP69 speakers that are coming out later in the year, although not here, that can take a pressure washer. So there will be more options if you have a very, very harsh kind of like hurricane weather environment.
Thank you so much. A few more questions to go. The next one here reads, how do you ensure the security and privacy of communications using your IP intercoms?
Sure. One main thing to look at it again with these things just being little Linux computers and LAN based is the key here. We support all the security protocols required with your VoIP system. We'll utilize your network to run. There's no pinholes or way for these devices to be accessed really outside of the LAN unless you point them locally to a provisioning server. There's a whole lot here that we do to make sure that these devices are just operating within your local ecosystem and properly with the right security protocol. So that in that way they're very secure.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Couple more questions here. This next one reads, how do you handle maintenance and repairs for your products? I realize it's a real general overview question, but if you could touch on that.
For sure. Maintenance and repair, I mean, coming into our support team first, and that's where they work a lot on this. We fully support our product, just as a heads up. If you have questions, you have issues with provisioning, we can help you. You can call our support team or send an email, and we're there 7:30 to 3:30 PST every day. Now, the main question is, if you have an issue and it's physical or we can't figure it out, you have the option to send it back. There's that 1-year warranty on the devices. If you're an integrator, you might actually get extended warranty to give to your clients. But we can take it back, repair, decide whether or not it's worth repairing with you, and then send it back. But very rarely do we have those kinds of issues. A lot of the time, it's a firmware update, but we have a team that supports you and helps you find the best option if you have to repair or maintain.
Excellent. Thank you for touching on warranties as well, because that was part of my next question, but you did touch on that. Unless there's any more to add regarding warranties?
Nothing more on that, just 1-year basic, and then depending on if you're an authorized integrator, maybe there's other options available to you.
Excellent, thank you. Last question here for you, Ben. Do you provide any type of training or educational resources for your customers?
For sure. Depending on if you have specific questions, there is a YouTube channel for Algo. You can just search up Algo on communications on the web and you'll see a lot of how-tos. All of our user guides are very well made. You'll be able to get most of the information you need from them just by going to the product page on the website. But you can always have people email sales@algosolutions.com or support@algosolutions.com. And like I said, being fully supported, they get free help from us as the manufacturer. So that's a very good thing.
Ben, thank you so very much for answering all those questions for us today. And thank you to everyone attending today's webinar. And if anyone has any further questions, please feel free to contact your Microcom sales rep or email us at sales@microcomtech.com. And if you wish to view any of the products mentioned or shown here today, please remember that this webinar presentation has been recorded and will be uploaded to our Microcom YouTube channel. So we all love YouTube. We can learn so much from that. And you just mentioned the same thing with your products, Ben. We greatly appreciate that. And everybody, thank you again for attending. Ben, your presentation, very, very informational. And until next time, and I will call on you, and perhaps we could have the next webinar before the end of the year. Thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic day.